All right, all right, all right. Well, welcome to Impact the Podcast, sponsored by the Universe and powered by Venture Cafe. I am your host, Tanya T. Morris, and for the first time in Impact the Podcast history, Neff and I are actually going to be drinking the same thing. OMG.
That's in part due to your magic, your Black girl magic. That's what that is.
I do what I can, and we try to always buy local. And I'm so excited today to have Black is Beautiful from two local guys, brewery, two African American men, right in West Philadelphia that are starting a brewing company. And so this is what we'll be drinking today. And so the rules are, for those of you that don't know, anytime during this podcast, because it was birthed during the time of COVID-19, if you say Corona, I'm going to say it like Will Times, if you say Corona, then Neff and I have no other choice but to take a sip of our beer of choice today.
So Tanya, I am totally comfortable with everyone taking a sip.
Okay.
And I'm also totally comfortable with Judy making sure she says Corona out the podcast.
So when I say Corona, you have to drink. Is that the idea?
That is
it.
And you can join us.
All right, I better
And
get
you can join, and Sharice, you can join us too, whatever your drink of choice is. You can join us.
I'm cracking mine open.
I'm at work. I'm reporting live from Spruce Street Harbor Park. I can't.
So it smells amazing, and I'm pouring. Great color.
I did have some of the beer.
You've had some of it, Sharice? Okay.
Yes, I have a beer coming out. It came off the same line as that beer. So
all right, you got to hold on to that. Now there's something else.
I hold on to it.
I knew Sharice was working on something. So.
Wow. So this month, our focus is systems. By definition, a system is a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or an interconnecting network. Procedures according to which something is done.
So I'm so excited. I've actually talked to Sharice before. I've interviewed her before, but I've just continued to follow her and be just so utterly impressed with her story. Sharice is the owner and producer of Local Artesian Foods, and she decided to take the big leap into full entrepreneurship in 2018. Day one, she resigned from her job. On day three, she opened up her French toast bite stand, and within the first 45 days in business, Sharice had already earned 3/4 of her former annual salary, setting a trend of positive growth for her venture. And in just a year and a half, she's opened 2 semi-permanent retail locations and brought her signature trademark spice blend to market. You will not need any other French toast seasoning. I have some in my cabinet. In the midst of COVID-19 pandemic, Sharice became the first Black woman to own and operate a food establishment in Spruce Street Harbor Park. Sharice, thank you and welcome to Impact the Podcast.
Thank you. It's good to talk to you and see you again.
Yes.
Under different circumstances for sure, but it's always a pleasure.
Yes, yes. So Sharice, I wanted to start off. I know your success wasn't accidental, but what is your process and who are some of the collaborators that you consider to be a part of your system?
Oh, okay. How much time do we have on this podcast? If I didn't learn anything else, relationships have proven to be more valuable than money. So my relationship with the African American Chamber of Commerce, my relationship with this Enterprise Center, the Center for Culinary Arts, my relationship with my undergraduate, Temple University School of Tourism, my relationship with my MBA programs, St. Joe's Food Marketing. So all those relationships kind of just all work together. My relationship with the media has been positive. So it's just relationship after relationship after relationship that's just been working in unison. And that's how I was able, to be where I am.
And Sharice, that's actually how I met you. You were on the podcast with Cherry Gregg, and I heard the podcast and I reached out to you immediately. So tell our listeners a little bit more about your story that, fill in the blanks a little bit of what some of the information that I gave as well.
Oh, sure. 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, I got into the open food market economy. I managed the Lansdale Farmers Market for 7 years. And during that time, I had a very, very unique opportunity to see independent food producers live their dream under this 10 by 10 white tent. And the ones that were doing it right were making 6 figures. So I'm like, wait a minute, I think I'm on the wrong side of the tent. So after about 5 years into it, my daughter, who grew up in farmers market, she's 14 now, 12 at the time, she said that she wanted a business in the farmers market. But a kid telling you they want a business in the farmers market is you having a business in the farmers market. And I didn't know if I had the capacity at that time to manage a stand and my daughter in the market. So I was like, I don't know. So she got a little bit older. She turned 12 and she wanted to have lemonade. But a rule for area farmers markets is that you have to source locally. I said, baby, lemons ain't local. So how you gonna make this lemonade? She was like, I was like, how are you gonna make this lemonade local? She said, I can go ask the farmers for their fruit, and every week it would be a new flavor. I was like, oh, okay, I like it. She reached out to some of our farmer friends, and they sold her their seconds, the super ripe, or the ones they couldn't sell because they were damaged, but it didn't matter to her because she just chopped them up and threw them in lemonade. And in 14 days, in farmers market time, that's like 14 weeks, but 14 days, she made like $6,000 off of this lemonade. And I got jealous. I'm like, wait a minute, I see these vendors, the jellies, the jams, the guacamole. So I'm like, wait a minute, my daughter with this lemonade, and I'm still on the wrong side of this. So I took it seriously. I went back to school in 2018, January, St. Joe's to get the MBA in food marketing. Just tied it all together and took the leap of faith. So most people go back to school to get a better job. I went back to school and quit my job. 11 months after that, I quit on November 15th. And 2 days later, I launched French Toast Bites right at Christmas Village in Idaho City Hall.
And the rest is history.
I love that. That is an amazing story. And Tanya has told me some of your story, but to hear it from you firsthand, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem. It's been quite the journey. And, COVID, again, relationships. The Inquirer called me. It's like, well, what are you going to do? All your venture camps. I was like, I don't know. I'm going nuts. I think it said that in the article. So one of my friendly restaurant owners who lives in town, she's like, what do you need, Sharice? I was like, I just need a kitchen so I could, sell the bites on Uber Eats or Grubhub, DoorDash, or Black and Mobile. She was like, you can come here on gratis. I was like, you ain't going to charge? She was like, no, I got you. We got to be in this together. We got to get through this together. Plus, I can introduce you to a new customer base and you can introduce me to your customer base. It was great. She had me operating at about 45% of what I would normally do during the time. So that was a big blessing. I was so active on DoorDash. DoorDash reached out, and I'm one of 10 food establishments who sits on the National Restaurant Advisory Committee for them, just because I made that pivot during COVID. So it's good to have a voice with that system also. So it's just been great, and it's just, keeping my name out there and being relevant even during this time. When Hip City Veg didn't come back to Spruce Street, Howard Park, I was the first one they called. Because they know this is kind of my space. Like, I love open air markets. And I tell people all the time, I'm not really in the food business. I'm more in the people business. And I think Corona proved that more than anything. I think Corona proved that more than anything. And so, but now, so we had to pivot and we did the 180, to the strictly delivery takeout model. And now we did another 180 to make a complete 360 back to where we belong, outside with the people. This is where it all started.
Sharice, that's a fascinating story. I'm Nefertari. It's wonderful to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I want to bring our other guest into the conversation, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to an author, activist, and entrepreneur. Her name is Judy Wicks. She's widely known.
Judy Wicks. My idol. She's my idol, actually.
That's right.
You pronounced our wrong. Our. So Judy is the founder of Philadelphia's iconic White Dog Cafe. She's a pioneer in the buy local food movement. She runs the Circle of Aunts and Uncles. That's a microloan company, or like microloan fund for local entrepreneurs. Her numerous local and national awards include the Impact Award for Economic Justice from Social Venture Network, Women Chefs and Restaurateurs Lifetime Achievement Award, and the International Association of Culinary Professionals Humanitarian Award. Judy, welcome to Impact.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for making the time today. We all are in awe of your journey, and what's even more amazing is it's not over yet, right? There's so much more to come. So Throughout your career, you've built effective systems that serve the community. What's the role in your mind of job creators in the ecosystem?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to first respond a little bit to Charisse, because I wanted to say that we are soulmates in this way, and seeing business, that business is about relationships. It's not really about money, you know, it's about our relationships with our employees, our customers, our community, with nature. And that money is simply a tool that we use, but it's not what business is really about.
Preach, sister.
We have that in common.
We sat together at the Edible Philly event a couple years back.
Yeah,
you and your daughter.
Yeah. So my work right now is about building local self-reliance in our region to produce the basic needs that we need of food, energy, building materials, clothing in our own region. And when we do that, we move wealth and power from outside corporations back to our communities. We create more ownership opportunities, and we create a lot more jobs. So every time we buy something that's manufactured outside of Philadelphia, our money is leaving our community, and with it the opportunity for the jobs that could be created if we produced those basic needs locally. Right now, my latest venture, in a sense, it's a nonprofit. It's called All Together Now Pennsylvania, and it's about how can we all pull together to build regional economies throughout our state that are work in harmony with nature and that are economically just. If we're going to build a new economy, we want to do it. We don't want business as usual. You know, we want to have a different set of values. That it's time for the revolution of values that Dr. King called for back in the 60s when he encouraged us to move from a thing-oriented society to a people-oriented society. And that right now, that is about our very survival, I feel. That, you know, between climate change, but the only way we're going to survive climate change is if we work together to create a new economy. And, you know, of course, as we know, with, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement, that this new economy that we are creating must be one that's fair and inclusive, and that it provides opportunity for our young people, hope, you know, that the young people in our city can see where they can fit in to the economy. They can find an opportunity to contribute, you know, their skills and talents and energy and passion into an economy that works for all of us. So I'm very excited about this work. We're working in 7 areas. We have we formed coalitions in local food and energy. Hemp is a big deal right now because it just became legalized, and there's so many opportunities in hemp. Hemp is a food, it's a building material, it's a fiber, and so on. So there's many different new industries that can come from hemp. And plant medicine is another area that we're working in. And we see the legalization of marijuana is drawing more attention to plant medicines. And so we need to educate our people, you know, what are the benefits of CBD, you know, THC, and other traditional plant medicines like, you know, golden seal or whatever, that, you know, that we need to learn how to use these plant medicines to our benefit, buy them from local farmers and entrepreneurs, and move, again, money and wealth from the pharmaceutical company to our own communities by learning how to use plant medicine. And most of the pharmaceutical, you know, drugs that they sell us are based on plant medicine anyway. And many of them were discoveries by indigenous people. You know, it's, I feel like this is the best way to create jobs and to create community wealth, you know, by controlling the means of production, that's where it's at. It's not just about locally owned stores, which are very important also, but what are the stores selling? Are they selling stuff from China, or are they selling stuff that's made in our community? So that's where the real change comes. If we can actually produce the clothes, the food, the building materials, and the energy in our own state, and do it in a way that works with nature and is inclusive and just. So that's where I'm at. And I must say, in talking about systems, that was my big aha moment. You know, back in the days of the white dog, I thought that the best thing I could do was to have good practices within my company, you know, paying a living wage, buying from local farmers, using renewable energy, composting my food waste, you know, all these things, that was it. But then I had a realization that it was more than that. And it came about because, you know, we established relationships with our farmers to buy all humanely raised animal products, organic fruits and vegetables, all this kind of stuff. And I prided myself on having this network of farmers that supplied the white dog. And I was looking at my menu and thinking, gee, like all of our, you know, products come from local farmers. Like, this is our competitive advantage. This is our market niche. You know, this is all about us. And then I had a realization that if I really cared, you know, about the small farmers, if I really cared about the environment that was being polluted by the industrial farming system, if I cared about the workers on these horrible slaughterhouses and plantations and whatnot, if I cared about the consumers that were eating food that was full of poison and hormones and all kinds of stuff, then rather than keeping my supply list of farmers to myself, I would get my competitors to buy from the farmers as well, to give them my supply list. And that I needed to turn my attention away from my own company to the system, to the food system, you know, in our region. That you know, that it's not enough just to have one restaurant buying from farmers, that we had to create a system that a food system for our region. And that was to increase the network of farmers around me into like a regional network that were supplying all the restaurants. And, you know, when I first thought of this, at first I was afraid. I thought, oh my God, I can't do that. I'm giving away my competitive advantage. You know, I could go out of business and my profits will go down, blah, blah, blah. You know, the fear came in. But then I realized that, you know, that my love was stronger than my fear, basically, you know, like that for my community, for the farmers, for the farm animals that were being mistreated in the industrial system. And I was able to do that. And since that point, my life has changed. You know, once I realized that I was working to build a system for everyone to benefit from, and that I would benefit too. It's enlightened self-interest. Because if we didn't have a strong system, then I wouldn't do well either. You know, so, you know, I moved my attention from just my own business to building a regional food system. And eventually I got into the other aspects of local self-reliance beside food, like the energy. The White Dog was the first business in Pennsylvania to buy 100% of our electricity from local renewable sources, and so on. But anyway, I just want to congratulate you about having a subject about systems, because that's what we all have to do. And when my organization is called All Together Now, and we need everyone to build a system. This isn't just about like one business doing something right. This is about how can we all come together to build an alternative economy that works for all of us. So that's what excites me.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's a lot there to unpack. But wow, I really want to talk about this new economy that Judy's talking about, and All Together Now, and how we can all become contributors to that, and the role that we play. And Sharice, I want to go back to you as we kind of unpack some of the things that Judy said, because I saw you lighten up, you know, with some of the things that she was saying about this new economy. And this ties into a conversation we had a couple months ago with Black and Mobile and with Jamila Medley from the cooperative. We were kind of talking about these same things and how all of these things kind of work together. And so Sharice, how do you see yourself in this ecosystem? And you talked about relationships in this food ecosystem. How are you contributing, and how do you see yourself moving forward in this ecosystem?
Oh, you know, as I said, I spent 7 years of my life at a farmer's market. So I'm very partial to buying locally produced foods, locally grown or locally produced, because that's two different things. So locally produced items, locally food. So our strawberries that we use as is local, and our bread comes from Horsham, Pennsylvania. So that's why the business is called Local Artisan Foods, because it launched with my daughter's lemonade with the local lemonade. So we just try to stick to that. But we have systems within our hiring practices. We have systems within our partners, and just making sure everything makes sense and that we're all fundamentally rooted in the same place. That's who I do business with. I don't care how big the paycheck is from it. If we're not fundamentally rooted in the same place, then I'm going to pass on the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, and just by the way, the lemonade is amazing. I just need to put that out there real quick. It's amazing.
So to speak to that, I'm here at Spruce Street Harbor Park. They wouldn't allow my daughter to sell the lemonade here because they want us to buy products from Liberty Coke. We don't drink soda. I don't believe in soda. So I told them I'm not selling soda at all. I'm not at all. So they said, well, you at least have to get the water. So they make us buy Dasani water and charge $3. Everybody from Chicky or Pete's, Jose Garza's, us, everybody. But I take those kind of stances. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, you can't make me sell soda. My business is called Local Artisan Foods. I don't sell anything that you can't pronounce.
That's great. That's great.
I don't.
Look at Judy. Judy got the fist up like, yeah.
Right.
I don't.
For those that are listening, they can't see it, right? Over the journey, I did not know when Tanya invited me to participate in this, how enlightened and how enlightening these conversations would be. Over the past 5 months, we have focused on community catalysts, building reservoirs in the community, disruption, adaptation, now systems. Judy, you've basically laid out the blueprint for us. You've shown us the way. Is there something we're missing?
Money.
Hey.
Money.
Sure.
But also as far as opportunities, what are some other opportunities, within this ecosystem? You talked about the hemp for one thing, that being an opportunity. Yeah. And then like our governor is finally going to, man up and pass some legislation. So what does that mean for us as a state going forward as far as opportunity?
Yeah. Well, a couple things I could say here. Our plant medicine coalition is actually led by Sharon Perry Thomas. I don't know if you know her. She's holding a Black Cannabis Week at the end of September, which coincides with Hempcrete Week that All Together now is doing. So we're doing. I wish I had the date in front of me, but do you all know about One Art out on 52nd Street? It's a most incredible place. But Malika and her husband, have this incredible farm and a complex there. They have a restaurant, although of course it's closed right now. Mm-hmm. So they're hosting our Hempcrete program that we're doing there. Which is on, I think it's Thursday, September 24th. But we have I wish I should look this up, but I assume it's under there's a Black Cannabis website, but there's also a hempcreteweek.com website, and that's for sure, hempcreteweek.com. We'll give the details. So we're going to have this workshop on what is hempcrete, out on 52nd Street, to show people how hempcrete is made. We're going to actually be making some hempcrete there and installing it in a wall at One Art, where Sharon is going to be opening a store called Plant and People, about our relationship with plants and all the things that we can learn from plants. So she's a vegetarian and so on. But hempcrete is going to be big. Hempcrete is a green building material that absorbs carbons indefinitely. So it takes the place of poisonous products, basically, like fiberglass insulation and styrofoam, all this nasty stuff that we use in our walls. And so it fills our walls with this material that absorbs carbons. It's mold resistant, fire retardant. It gets harder over time. But anyway, there's going to be a lot of jobs in that. And we have a project that we're working on now. I can't talk about it publicly yet because it's in the works. But the manufacturing of this, if this goes through, it's going to be in North Philly. So we want to. So all together now, our mission is to connect rural and urban communities to build local supply chains that produce our basic needs in an economy that works for all of us. So with hemp, our local farmers can grow the hemp. We process it out there. We bring it into North Philly into a manufacturing plant where we will actually make some products from this. This project is in the works right now. Another project we have in the works is hemp milk as a dairy alternative. That we want to make a milk that's a blend of several different grains, and it all from Pennsylvania farmers. And there's one of our advisors. We have an advisory board. In fact, Jamela Medley is on our advisory board. She's also a collaborator for the Circle of Aunts and Uncles, or Microloan Fund. And so when we see gaps in the local supply chain, our intention is to start cooperatives to fill those gaps. So we'll be working with Medley for the urban cooperatives, and with another Keystone Coalition, Keystone whatever for the rural cooperatives. Forget the whole name of the Keystone Center, Development Center, Keystone Development Center. So anyway, so cooperative ownership is one of the things that we want to hold up in these different enterprises. So with the hemp milk, that may be a cooperative, a farmer cooperative, but if as we get larger and we're going to start bottling in Philadelphia, there would be a bottling cooperative, or at least a profit sharing, with the workers in Philadelphia. And so another one of our advisors, Sean Nesbitt, owns Good Karma Coffee. He's African American, and he has 4 coffee shops, and so he's very interested in carrying our product, because it's going to be 100% grown in Pennsylvania. So it's helping our farmers. Hopefully, once we get the bottling thing up in the city, it'll be helping urban workers as well. To have that be our dairy alternative choice, for the coffee shops and so on. So I think there's a lot of opportunities in hemp, as food, as building material, eventually as fabric. It's kind of a stiff fabric. The colonial people wore it, but for us sissies in modern times, we want something a little softer. It probably has to have, other things blended in with it. But anyways, there's going to be jobs there. And there's going to be jobs, hopefully, that we can get a bill in Pennsylvania about THC that's going to make it accessible, for our farmers and our urban entrepreneurs, because we want to make sure that this industry helps the communities that have been damaged by the war on drugs. How can we give back? Some sort of a drug policy reparations, in a sense, to help people who. I mean, right now there are white guys making millions of dollars off the same drug that black men are in jail for. Like right now. I mean, this is
right. That's right.
so unjust.
That's
so
right.
We need to have a bill in Pennsylvania that addresses this. That that pardons all the nonviolent drug offenders and so on, and not only pardons them, it gives them a chance to get into this industry in a legitimate way. So I think there's going to be opportunities there, I hope. So I think in this plant, hemp, that's been illegal for 80 years, and is back. I think there's a lot of opportunity for ownership opportunities and job opportunities there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to listen to this podcast multiple times to get from it all the amazing tidbits that I'm hearing. But one thing that you said led me to an idea. Tracy Braa is here, and I'd like her to unmute just to confirm for me. Next month's our sixth month anniversary on the 24th of September, the same day as Judy's activities. I think that it's in good order to ensure that we cover that. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was just looking at the site and the time said TBD. So I was actually thinking the same thing, Nefertari. Great minds think alike, that we should figure out an opportunity to collaborate. So we will certainly be in touch to figure out how we integrate the opportunity and get folks kind of understanding everything that's happening in the broader ecosystem.
Amazing.
That's great. That'd be so cool.
Wonderful.
Love it.
Just in tall order, I'm going to say Corona. Just so everyone has to
Just because.
drink.
Just because.
Charisse, tell us about what you plan for your future. You mentioned something about a brew. What
Oh, yes.
and
Conquering
how
the
do
world.
you
She's going to conquer the world.
how do you decide what's next?
Joe Modestine from Doylestown Brewing Company reached out to me. He said, I saw you on the news twice. I love your energy. Have you thought about getting into the craft beer industry? I was like, oh, it crossed my mind. Nothing I was ever fully, invested in. He was like, I want to do a French toast beer with you.
Ah.
I was like, well, let's do a French toast beer. I was like, what do you need from me? And he said, bring your spice up here and we'll go from there. And I need your logo and we'll be good to go. I said, wait, Joe, I don't do things for show. So you're not going to just slap my logo on a can of beer and I'm going to like float around and sell it. I need to make it. So I need the intern here. I need to know the process on how to do it. So last Friday we started. I go every Friday to brew this beer. And every week at the end of the night here at Spruce Street, we save all of our French toast bites. And I take them there and it's in the mash. So it's truly French toast bites beer. Like there's French toast bites in the mash and the barley. And I go up there every Friday because I need to be a part of the process. So stuff like that. So we have spice bites and beer. The official release date is National French Toast Day, which is I think this year November 28th or 27th.
It's after my birthday. It's after my birthday. Right,
yeah,
like 2 weeks after my birthday.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to get that out there. There's not a lot of Black women in the craft brew space nationally, but definitely not in Philadelphia. So that's just something I'm excited to get involved with. And I wanted to be hands-on with it. I go every Friday. And so tomorrow will be my second day. I call it my internship.
It's amazing.
I am so excited. We'll definitely have you back, Charisse. You'll be a sponsor the next time we have you back with the beer. So
No
I'm
doubt.
so excited. And so I don't know if I told you this or not, but when Charisse talked about pivoting and partnering with another restaurant, that was our spot, the Better Box. And her in the Better Box, and that's one of my other spots. So during this whole time, I've been making my rounds to where we want to support as many local, especially Black-owned businesses as we possibly can. So the Better Box is one of my stops. And now the Charisse is down at the park next time. Enough in the city, we're going to definitely come down there and support you. But I support Charisse all the time because I got French toast in my cat.
The bigger story, I think the bigger story with Tamika reaching out to me is showing the city, showing the nation that, two Black women can come together and partner and combine their resources. She has way more followers than me. Her gross sales are way higher than mine. She has a food truck and the 2 restaurants. So I'm like, what do you want with little old me? She's like, no. Every time I'm with you, I learn something new and blah, blah, blah. So I learned a lot about her on how to even work and operate a kitchen in a restaurant. Because I never even worked. That's a lie.
Yeah.
When I was 15, I worked at Eaton Park. That's in Western Pennsylvania. I'm from Pittsburgh. I worked there for 2 weeks as a waitress. It's the worst. So I never even worked in a restaurant before. So having that hands-on experience, really helped. And I was able to pivot and grow into, where I belong. A lot of people's like, how come you guys don't work together anymore? I was like, it was never a permanent thing. She helped me out. It was we're still great friends. I'm going to have my 2-year anniversary party at her new restaurant on Spring Garden. And she's been here uncountable amount of times getting the French toast milkshake. So it was just great. I just wanted other restaurateurs to see that partnership. And you got to combine the resources. We had to anyway to get through. And she wasn't closed a day during Corona.
Matter of fact, on top of that, not only was she not closed today, I'm thinking the second location kind of opened up around that time, didn't it, Charisse? She opened around that time?
Yeah, she opened her second location in the middle, and she's only 25. I'm like, I'm almost 40, and we're just continuously learning from one another. And I just really, more than anything, serve as an inspiration to other restaurateurs in the city. You're not in it alone. I don't see other restaurateurs as competition. Yeah. Only competition I see is funnel cakes, but no. But I don't see it really as competition, because who wants to be one restaurant on some random street? Put me on Restaurant Row, because that's where everybody's at. So I
Yeah.
think high tides rise all ships. I don't think there's such thing as competition in the space. And that's why I see a lot of businesses not working out. They try to do it on their own, and it just wasn't, it didn't prove to be viable to me to do that.
I remember one of the first times you and I talked, and you talked about the fact I used to say, I haven't heard you say it as much, that you wanted to be the Auntie Annie's of French toast. Right?
Oh, I think Auntie Ann wants to be the Sharice of French toast now because she got her fruit trucks out here. She knows no one's going to the malls anymore.
Yeah, right. She had to pivot. She had to pivot, but you know, but
I even saw her on DoorDash. Come on, Auntie Ann, you're in my space now. So I think Ann Beeler wants to be the Sharice of French toast now. No, I'm kidding. I say that when I'm drunk with friends.
Well, you with friends. I don't know, you know, what the water's doing for you, but I know me and Neff are probably feeling pretty nice right about now. But but I the reason I brought that up is because I think it's so important for people to understand about doing what works and staying in your lane, for lack of a better term, and building on your product. And so I just wanted to really, like, you know, have that conversation, just a little bit of you talking about why you know, that was what you did. And when people asked you, you talked about that, about when people asked you, well, are you going to do chicken and waffles? Or are you going to do, you were like, no, I do French toast. That's what I do.
I leave the chicken and waffles to the chicken and waffle people. I leave the funnel cake to the funnel cake people. I just kind of crap my own lane. Keep it simple, you know. It's very versatile. We have like 6 different revenue models, you know, from catering to pop-ups to long-term engagements, like at Spruce Street Harbor Park, with one simple item with a large profit margin. So I'm cool. Like I don't need all the extra. We have bacon on a stick, which is very popular, and we included the milkshake. We'll do a couple of fun things depending on the location, but you know, we're rooted in French toast. Everything is French toast, French toast bites, French toast spice, French toast milkshake. That's my lane. That's what I do. I'm not a chef. I never went to cooking school. I never did anything. I went to get an MBA. So I'm focusing on growing an enterprise.
Yeah.
And my people I look up to are the Auntie Anns and the Cinnabons and the Mrs. Fields of the world, who kind of figured out being in the high traffic areas worked. I'm not reinventing anything. I'm just taking what I like from all of my favorite companies. Starbucks. I put French toast bites right on the smack of the container, because I know what people would take pictures of it. I didn't enter this business with a $10,000 marketing budget. I relied on my customers from City Hall or Christmas Village to promote the brand. Like, oh, I got these cool things. So when I realized people were starting to, like at Christmas Village, people waited 35 minutes in 32-degree weather. And before they took a bite, they took a picture. I was like, what? I'm on to something. So I always say the camera eats first. That's my marketing. To this day, I don't have a marketing budget.
The camera eats first.
Camera eats first. So
you heard that now?
That's just something that came natural. When I saw that folks were waiting in line and it was like a badge of honor that they waited in this line to get these French toast. I was like, oh man, I got to stick with this.
Yeah.
She blew my mind. She blew my mind. And what's amazing about listening to you, Sharice, is it sounds like you're having fun. It sounds like you love what you do. Even when you're facing adversity, you're like, I'm ready.
Oh, you don't even know what I'm facing now. We got robbed last night here. I just saw the videotape, and it looks like these guys that I served earlier yesterday. So I have to call the police after to get off the phone. So I can file a report.
Wow,
but you know, you don't let stuff hold you back. You just keep pushing through. You know, God bless them. I hope they probably needed it more than me. God bless them.
Yeah.
So that's
an amazing attitude.
That 6-month anniversary is all about resilience, right? All about resilience. And that love of business is something that I've read about Judy's book, Good Morning, Beautiful Business, right?
Great book. Great.
Published in 2013, it won a national gold medal for business leadership and it's been translated into Chinese and Korean. Why, Judy, is it so important in business to love what you're doing?
It's everything. People sometimes ask me, if you were to give one suggestion to an up-and-coming entrepreneur, what would it be? And I say, follow your heart, follow your passion. You know, if you don't love it, if it's not fun, you know, it doesn't have meaning for you, it's not gonna work. Yeah, I think it is about enjoying your work and having it be meaningful, you know, to you, for sure. And I want to say, Charisse, I grew up in Pittsburgh too, and some of my first dates were at Eaton Park.
Oh man, they still had the best smiley face cookies.
I can remember pulling up there in some big old car that one of my friends would be driving, and we'd all get like beer floats and milkshakes and burgers and whatnot.
The Squirrel Hill location was my was my hangout location over in Squirrel Hill.
I was in the North Hills.
Oh, gotcha.
Went to North Allegheny High School.
Oh, very nice. Pittsburgh, you know, and I love Philly. I haven't been back since I came to go to Temple, but I go back to visit, but I haven't gone back to live there because I just love the opportunity here in Philly.
Well, I came here in 1970 to start a business, and that was we called it the Free People Store, and I grew up to become Urban Outfitters, of course, and I started the store with my husband, who was my boyfriend from 5th grade, you know, in the little town there, Pittsburgh, that we grew up in, and we started it with $3,000, and now it's like a couple $1 billion company, global company. I mean, he's a right-wing Republican, so we don't have anything in common any longer. You know, he thinks that Rick Santorum is like the best politician ever, kind of thing. So anyway, I didn't know exactly why I had to get out of the marriage at the time, but I understand now. But anyway, it was a good marriage in that we birthed a wonderful company. It was wonderful in the beginning because it was very community oriented, but then it grew up to be a global global company. So it's not at all a local anymore. But I have to hand it to him. He's a great businessman. He still is the CEO. My 5th grade boyfriend. But we came here to start that store because there didn't seem to be any stores around Penn, for the Penn students. They were all torn down. And because we were only 23 years old, I actually suggested the idea of having a store because we wanted to do a business, and what kind of business could we do? I said, stores are really easy because you just buy something at one price and you sell it for a higher price. That's all there is to it, So that's about all we knew. But we knew what we liked, for that age group. So we wanted to have a store for people under 30. Just using, that's another thing I say, like, just use what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have, use the resources you have. So we would go to Chinatown on garbage day and collect all the old wooden crates that were used to ship things with, and made our shelves out of used lumber. We actually lived in the back of the store because we couldn't afford an apartment and a storefront. So we lived in the back of the store. We did things like we bought white T-shirts, the ones with the 3 buttons here, underwear, I guess they were, with a 3/4 length sleeves. And then we tie-dye them and dyed them different bright colors. And so we bought them for whatever, $1, and then would sell them for like $6. We went to the Ragman and bought used clothes by the pound. So he let us go in there and go through these big bins of old clothes. So we would pick out like the fur coats and the leather jackets and the silk slips and whatnot, bought them by the pound, which was really cheap. So we maybe got a leather jacket for, $2 or something and sell it for $50. So we just used our ingenuity to build the business until we were at the point where we could get a bank loan and all that stuff. So starting where you are, I think, is a really important thing, and using the resources at hand. And start small. I mean, I think sometimes when people get some big loan and they owe $500,000 to the bank or whatever, and then they don't have the opportunity to tinker around, and figure out what works. When you're doing it with a small amount of money and you're growing slowly, you can figure it out as you go along. If you get a big loan, you've got to have the whole business plan, and what if you're off, and blah blah blah. It's so nerve-wracking, and you don't get to have fun, with kind of playing with it and learning as you build a business. So, so that was back in 1970, and that's when I moved here, and I just love Philadelphia. It's truly my home. I would never think about going anywhere else. Although right this minute, I'm up in the mountains. I'm 2 hours north.
Nice.
And I got a cabin up here for my 50th birthday present to myself. And I had lived, solid in the city for, I guess, 30 years almost at that point. And hadn't even thought about the woods, although I grew up in the woods. And then all of a sudden I thought, I need the woods in my life. I need the woods in my life. And so I bought this cabin, and it's just been a lifesaver for me. So I've been hiding here from the virus. I've been up here since Memorial Day. So it's very refreshing. I work full time, because it's a Zoom and whatnot. Usually I go back and forth to Philadelphia for the meetings and the parties, but now there's no meetings and there's no parties. So I just stay up here in nature and do my Zoom stuff.
So I know we're starting to wind down. I think we could do this for hours, right? For hours. But I do want to just check in with both of you all, because I hear synergy in nostalgia, food, and places, which makes me think about tourism. During Corona, during the pandemic, we're physically constrained from moving around. What do you see, Charisse, just over the horizon as we start to open back up? Where is the opportunity in food and tourism?
I have a very skewed biased opinion because I'm at a tourist attraction. So even to this day, we moved in and opened up doors July 17th. 50% of our customers are tourists. And because we're right in front of the Hilton. So I asked, I'm engaging. So I was like, what are you guys doing today? What are you up to? I'm always engaging, always asking. Like, oh, we took a day trip from Baltimore. We took a day trip. So I think once the light turns green, I think we'll be back. It may take a year and a half to get fully there, but you can't tell me that Philadelphia isn't itching to go back outside and have fun, because I'm on Penn's Landing on Friday and Saturday nights. So I'm a little skewed in my opinion and advice, because I'm here. I see the crowd that's at Michoud. I see the hotel parking lot right behind me, the Hilton. I see the Barge Bar. Chicken pizza. We have the longest lines here. I think people are itching to get back. There's the Summer Fest here. You see the kids with their carnival prizes that they won. I think people are itching and just waiting for the full green light to get back. So I think it'll recover. The tourism will recover strongly, and I think the restaurants will be slowly creeping behind them, just because restaurants will be a huge hit.
And so, Judy, how can we take that optimism, that opportunity, and do just what you said, build that regional mesh, that network around something we know is just about to bubble, and develop the type of regional reliance, self-reliance, and resilience that you preach about?
Yeah. Well, at All Together now, we look at two general areas. One is to increase the supply, by helping connect the farmers to the entrepreneurs and so on, and create those social enterprises where the gaps are, that might be worker cooperatives or whatever. And then the other is to increase the demand, to educate the public about the importance of buying from local businesses like Charissa's and so on. I mean, we need to, instead of going to a chain to buy something down in Philly or whatever, to go and buy from Charisse. You know what I mean? Like, we need to support each other. We need to support our businesses, and stop buying from chains, and stop buying from the multinational. But stop buying from the man. You know what I mean? Like, let's buy from each other. Support each other.
I was wondering how long it was going to take for Judy to say stop buying from the man. I was just waiting for you. I'm shocked that it took this long.
Right. And I wanted to comment on, you mentioned food and tourism. I just wanted to say a couple of things briefly, that the pandemic has blown the cover off the failure of the centralized industrial corporate controlled food system. It failed us during the pandemic. There were empty grocery shelves. They were pouring the milk down the drain. They were like killing off all the pigs and stuff because the system failed. At the same time, our local food system pivoted and came to our rescue. Really, the farmers figured out how to reach the consumers. And I'm here, guys. What's that? Oh, okay. I'm on a Zoom call. Somebody's at my door. I can't come out right now.
This is live radio, people.
It's the man, Judy.
Man at the door. He's coming to get me.
You have witnesses. I'll be right
there. I can't come right now. I'm on a show. Hold on a minute. So anyway, so the other thing I want to mention is about tourism, that we have to have local tourism, that our Pennsylvania folks have to understand we have a lot to see right here in our cities and in our rural areas. We don't have to go to New York all the time. We don't have to fly off to Paris or Chicago or whatever. We have to explore our own resources here. There's just so much culture and charm, you know, in our cities and in our rural towns and so on. So that's one of the sectors we're focusing on it all together now, is local tourism, to try and get Pennsylvania to support our own. So
I find that to be fascinating. I and Tanya have been talking about this regional approach of Philly for Montco, where I live in Montgomery County, Upper Marion, but the Delaware, Bucks, Chester counties in Philadelphia proper, and what that looks like. So synergy is in the air, right? Buckminster Fuller. So as we close, I want to say thank you to Venture Cafe, Tracy, Gary, Emily. You all have been great. Jen's not here, but I have to say thank you to Jen and Natalie for supporting us in kind of just this space of exploration with Impact the Podcast. So as we move into next month, I want to capture today your thank yous. Like, who has been just a contributor to your resiliency, whether it's at you personally or your businesses. So Judy, can we start with you? Who do you want to say thank you for supporting your resilience during the pandemic?
during the pandemic, so not my life. But okay. Well, the farmers. You know, I'm so grateful that the farmers. You know, I had food delivered to my house. You know, so I think the farmers really rose to the occasion and kept us fed. So I want to thank our local farmers.
Wonderful.
So Charisse, up to you next. Who do you want to thank for 6 months of resilience?
Whew. All right, definitely the African American Chamber of Commerce. These are all people who pose as like resources for me, hired me. So I definitely want to shout out since Venture Cafes. I have to shout out my good folks at CIC Philly. They were our first catering job amid COVID. They allowed me to come in and take photos. I brought my photographer with me because we have a whole new COVID catering setup. And my good folks over there, Sally, said I was able to come in and take pictures and set it up for their staff, how we would do it. And we've since gotten more catering because people are doing, companies are inviting their employees back. So there's more morale boosting catering opportunities for us. And so we changed our catering model to support that. And they were the first folks to hire us. So little things like that really go a long way, not just for hiring us, but allowing us to come in with the photographer, allowing us to, you know, make it a thing and use them as part of our marketing material. The African American Chamber of Commerce, the Center for Culinary Enterprise, the Better Box, my staff, because they were unemployed. You know, I have a schedule where we work every day from April 1st to December 31st. So during the first 3 months, we're off, and that's fine. And then we're supposed to get right back to work, and that was kind of limited a little bit. So they stuck with me, and I still have my same staff, and I appreciate them for that. Temple, St. Joe's, their support has been overwhelming, just getting the message out along the alumni networks. Being the media has been very favorable to my story and propelling my career. So I appreciate that. Folks like you for allowing me to have a platform and get story out, because I don't think people buy things. I think they buy things from people who they can relate to and who they like. So any opportunity I get to share my personality, share my journey, and share my story, it all helps. And I appreciate these kind of opportunities.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Charisse. I want to thank Judy and Sheree. I was so excited about this episode because I knew there would be so much synergy around food and systems. And so really grateful for you all coming on the show, and just want to echo Neff to Tracy and Gary and Emily and Jen and Natalie and Grace, who came and helped me get set up today in the studio, and Sally and all of those folks. So just thank you to those. But I really want to thank my family, and they've been incredible during this time, making sure that, you know, the house was okay and being there for deliveries and all of those things. And then I really want to thank our city employees. I think the city of Philadelphia employees have really been incredible during this time specifically. And I know folks fuss about the trash piling up and things like that, but you know, it's a dirty job and somebody's got to do it. And they've been doing it to the best of their abilities, along with our SEPTA bus drivers and all of these folks and all of these entrepreneurs out here that have been, you know, grinding and maintaining during this time. And so I just want to thank you all for sharing your stories with us over these last 6 months. This week has been a little hard for me. I've had some challenges at home this week, hot water heater went and all those things that come with being a homeowner, but it's been challenging. And then, you know, we had yet another Black man be a victim of police brutality. And so you just continue, it becomes harder every day to push these things aside and continue to do what you have to do to live and to breathe and to operate. And so you all help us to be able to do that. And I think we help each other with being able to do that. So I just want to thank you for that time. 6 months. I can't even believe that it's been, and I want to thank Nefertiri for putting up with my nonsense. And so it's been a pleasure. We're excited about September 24th. We're going to celebrate our 6-month anniversary, and we have Judy and Sharice's quotes now, and we're going to bring back Jeff Hornstein and Jabari Jones and everybody that came on our show the last 6 months. We're hoping to be able to, you know, to get them to contribute. So thank you all for listening and for making an impact. That's all I got, Nev.
Oh, you want me to? I've had a lot of Black is Beautiful. So I'll do the radio out. Thank you for tuning in to Impact, Teachers and Mom Your Business podcast, where you can listen and be heard. Yay!
Hey, hi everybody.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Judy.
Judy.
Sharice, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll get you hooked up. I'll get you hooked up.
Okay.
Yes.
That's simple. Thank you.
All right. Bye
Have a
bye.
good one, people.